My name is Gail Wilson, and I was the Scrum Master for Group 5. And this is our presentation on the
Hi, my
NSU
name is
Human
Brandon
Resources
Demas, and I
Platform.
was responsible for updating and creating the PowerPoint slides. And I was also assigned to create the video presentation for our group.
Hello, I am Daniel Rachel Claspill, and my main role in this project was originally to cover routing research, but when our original plans fell through, I shifted into Mendix implementation, and accordingly, I will be discussing Mendix functionality for the app.
The issue at hand is that the university is currently using a paper based system that each executive must have signed and delivered to request the resources that they need. The university is currently looking for an online automated process that will allow the employees to electronically fill out and sign the documents that they need.
Next will be our budgeting slide. So we know when creating any new processing system that task will be a financial burden no matter what. So we created this spreadsheet through Excel that basically projected a 5 year span on how financially our numbers would add up throughout those 5 years. So if we check out the spreadsheet on Excel, we can see initially these budgeting costs of labor costs, hardware and software costs will be drastically high. All right. But then if we fast forward to the year of 2023, we can basically see how those numbers drastically decrease. Well, basically it tells me that initially we're gonna have to pay for certain things that's gonna be drastic in our budget, but eventually those numbers will drastically decrease and basically be profitable for us. And like they always say, quality costs. So initially it's gonna cost us, but at the end it's gonna pay off in the long run because we're creating a new system that's gonna attract any and every type of applicant in the best way to join the Northwestern community. So obviously we created our application through Mendex. We learned Mendex through our semester, the whole semester, and we got familiar with it through this process. Point of emphasis. We wanted to focus on three main things. The first one is creativity. We wanted to create a great processing system that was going to be a very attractive for every applicant to want to check out, right? Appearance matters in every aspect. Second thing, we wanted it to be user friendly, right? We wanted to create it where users or applicants from a young age to an old age can be comfortable enough to come to our system and be able to use it without needing additional help. All right. Last thing, we want to be accessible. All right. One thing we have to do is, and no matter any technology aspect, you have to have access to your processing system or the website for applicants to want to come check out. All right.
Hello, I am
So those are the
Daniel
3 point of
Rachel
emphasis.
Claspill, and my role in this project has been mainly to research routing solutions for the NSU routing application. And routing is the primary purpose of this, where we sought to eliminate a lengthy paper trail and mail lag by routing documents electronically, presenting them to appropriate executives and officers for updates, and 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 notifying others when and they might be needed, it including providing both other executives and users themselves updates on the progress of the applications and forms. To that end, we will be using the demo executive demo account, which has the functionality available to an executive user to display much of the central functionality of this app. here, we go to the menu and we can see the point personnel, personnel taxes, and wages is links. These lead to forms that one fills out. How, how do you can see here are a few things you can do with it. These can all be filled out. The same applies to all of the other forms. And the important part here is that it allows you to save this to the database in Mendix, like so. I will fill in some basic information here. When doing the filling out updates, this is appropriate, especially the last update field, which will show very important shortly. We can see the document I just made right here. This shows the document name, office, when it was updated, and who has signed it. The progress page can be viewed by both executives and normal users and administrators as well, but only executives and administrators can see the options here, such as downloading a PDF version of a given document, like so. Oh, and accessing an existing one and to edit it. So here, let's say edit the name to test document and outright, and you can see that it's stuck. Like rejecting or finishing an application can be managed with, and you can just delete this, and it is gone. On the user end, one might want access to points of contact, which an executive or administrator can add one for. Let's just use this as an example. And the user accessing it will see this here. Users can also enter their information and have it shown in an accounts overview in the same way. The core functionality, however, revolves around the progress page, which everyone and who needs to see it can see when it is updated and who has signed it, and thus as who needs to sign it on the same page, eliminating a lot of work by combining the requirements for both applicants and executives in one uneasy package. That is the core of this project, and I am proud to have managed to make such an elegant solution to the problem.
So now I'm going to talk about the database. So for the database, we originally developed this in SQL. We had a pretty large SQL database from the previous semester, and we were going to use Java connectors or PHP of some kind to connect the database to the web page. But it turns out that was not working like we wanted it to. We could never get our Azure database to talk to the web page, even whenever we used Microsoft's database connector code. So we switched the database completely over to Mendix. In fact, that was one of the main reasons why we switched over to Mendix. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of the database and how we set it up. So Mendix actually makes it really easy for you to set up a database. It does almost everything for you. You really don't have to do a whole lot besides define each entity and what type of entity it is. This is what we have in our Mendix database. It's a lot of stuff, but the way Mendix works made it really easy for us to kind of just hammer down and just create entities as we needed them. And Mendix sorted them all, into the correct section, and we can use them dynamically across the app. I mean, it's very, point, drag, and click kind of situation as opposed to working with mountains of code, which is what we started with. Mendix kind of changed the way we approached the database portion of this project. As you can see, we have, a database table for each page. And now this is the way Mendix is organized. It's not necessarily the best database structure in the world. I will say that it would probably be better to break this down a little more. But this is the way it was organized in Mendix, and it works really, really well. I understand that for a much bigger project, or for a real production environment, this would probably not be the best way to do it. But because we had to rebuild at the last minute, this was kind of our best option. So as you can see, it's broken down by page here. Here's all the entities on each page. So you have the taxes page, the point personnel page, wages page, the user info page. And so it's made each of these into its own little table here, with each entity. And, we define these as we went in the pages. And, it makes it, like I said, it makes it really easy to do. So if I pull up the web modeler, or the desktop modeler rather here, you can actually see, this is one of our pages, the wages page here. So what it looks like here is, pretty much exactly what it looks like online. So Mendix actually allows us to, write text and have our field here and say, okay, data from this field goes into this, entity. And it's a relational database that almost builds itself, and you simply set, this data view right here to, the correct name, and then you can add the various entities to it. It's very efficient, very easy to use. As you can see, we just put in here what we needed for each table to replicate the forms. And the part about this that really made it great is whenever we went over to make documents to generate for each user, for each stage of the process, it allowed us to kind of insert those same entities here and to pull the stored values out of them without having to do any real manual coding, and that kind of saved us a lot of work. But yeah, that's how the database works, and kind of how our database evolved and our database usage kind of went over the course of the project. It kind of just transcended from a standard SQL database to a full-blown Mendix database, and it made it a lot easier. So thank you very much.